All right, so we're going to get started. And welcome. As we start, let's start with prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, you gave us our hope to be your vicar here on earth, to be a symbol of unity for the church and for the world as well, as a voice to call us to grow in holiness, to call us to be better disciples, to journey, to walk, to serve, to love. Thank you for the testimony of that Pope. Thank you that we've had so many wonderful popes in this past century. God, open our hearts to grow into the church that you call us to be. And we ask all these things through Christ our Lord. Amen. The Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Ooh, how exciting. Thank you. This is wonderful. I'm very excited to share this. This is part of my history. As you might remember, my dad is Panamanian. He is from the city of Panama, and I had learning Spanish. 10 years ago, I went to Panama to study Spanish, and I went back every year for 5 years as I connected with a parish that's there. Not family per se, but it sort of became my Panama family, and I got in touch with my roots. And so when this possibility came up, I got excited. I said, if ever I'm going to go somewhere where there are 1 million people trying to figure out how to eat and how to go to the bathroom and all of the rest of the logistics, it'll be now with the Pope in Panama, okay? Because that's where my family is from, and it came together. So we're going to look at Papa Francisco, as we say in Spanish, World Youth Day in English, and J&J in Spanish, which is funny because people, oh, it's Jesus, Mary, Joseph. But J&J is the Jornada Mundial de la Juventud. So Jornada is a journey or sort of a day trip of the whole world for the Juventud. Joven is the word for youth in Spanish. Okay, so J&J. But in Panama, this is the dress that is typical in Panama, the polleras, and the colorful dress. Of course, Panama is most famous for the Panama Canal, right? Built by the U.S. Army, completed in 1914, and U.S. has always had a presence in the canal zone up until 1999. Recently it was expanded. There was a set of locks on the other side, and now this is a new expanded portion, and it's fascinating. The engineering of it is wonderful. It makes for a great tour if you can get there. I did not take this picture. I did not have a plane to go. Most of the pictures here are from the group. Okay, so welcome to the end videos. I got my hat, so I stick out. Okay, I got my radio. I got my apparel, and we are ready to go. So when the Pope comes to town, as my experience of the past couple of popes, you just plan on doing one thing every day. That's it. You'll piddle around in the morning and you'll get something to eat somewhere along the way, but you do one big thing every day. And the first big thing was to wait for the Pope and to get all excited and to cheer as he came by. So this is us waiting on one of the main city streets for 3-4 hours, just waiting. The TV was showing as he came in. The streets today were just lined from the airport all the way into where he was. But once he got into the city, then he switched over to his Pope-mobile, and then you could really see him as he came through. So I'm standing on a stool here waving a flag, and people are telling me, oh, Father, you have to tell us when he's coming, tell us when he's coming. So, and I could see all the way down the block, and then when I saw the Pope-mobile come around the corner, then I got to shout out, Viene el Papa, and everybody erupted into joy. And it's sort of the first experience of being there with the Pope. You realize, I don't know how to compare this. Right? All of this sort of enthusiasm and excitement with so many different people that I don't know, and we don't speak the same language. And here, there's all of this excitement for the arrival of the Pope. But he did arrive, and he drove by in his Pope-mobile, and everybody is taking pictures. And then afterwards, comparing pictures and saying, ha ha, he looked at me, and he didn't look at you. But this is sort of the best of all worlds. He gets in his Pope-mobile, and he sort of weaves through the crowd so that he can at least get close to as many people as possible. So that was sort of day number one. Day number two, we had the ceremony of reception in Panama City. So I'll show you, this is the main stage that they had constructed. Really, really beautiful, and they used this for a number of different activities as we got going. But to put that in perspective, you can see as they were building it here, and this is downtown, and something that they've done in the past 10 years in Panama. It's exciting to see a city become more beautiful. I think it makes me excited, not just because it's Panama, but just to see people investing and have all this coastal line. And so this is called the Coastal Belt, and it's gardens and it's parks and basketball courts and tennis courts, and it moves all along the front of the city. And it's called the Cinta Costera, so it's the coastal belt. So the main stage is built right here. And that 1, 2, 3, the third building that's where we were when we were looking at the Pope, and we were more than halfway up. So it was probably about a mile going all the way back. Mm-hmm. Screens and speakers, and you could participate perfectly well. I mean, and the logistics, they were great. But it gives you an idea. We were downtown for these first activities. So here's our ceremony of welcoming and the art behind, and now the Pope coming out and greeting us. And this is the Pope's view, which I love. This is what the Pope can see.
Oh, wow.
So,
De colores.
Right? De colores. No kidding. These are the people of the world with their flags. Everybody everywhere is carrying flags. And this is the Pope's view. As he's speaking to us for the first time now, we're all excited. We're chanting and cheering, and there's music, and they spent 2 hours getting ready for it, getting everybody excited, and then and now the Pope, he's going to speak to us. Now he's going to say things to us, and what is he going to say? So one of the first things he does is ask us a question. He says, we are so different. We speak different languages and different clothes, different food, we have different histories, different family experiences. What is it that holds us together? And what's the answer? We don't know. It's love, right? It's love. Or God, right? It's love. And he said it's the conviction that we are loved. That's what holds us together. It's the conviction that we are loved. These are members of the group. It's Susanna and Juan and Brian and Elizabeth. There's Father Carlos, one of our priests, Lorimar and Cielo. And they did not know each other before the trip, but by the end they just became a group. So one of the things that the Pope says to us as he's reflecting on love, true love does not void legitimate differences, but harmonizes them into a greater unity. And then he says, let me repeat that. He repeats it. He says, you know who said that? You know who said that? Pope Benedict, right? And then everyone gets all excited. We're cheering. And he says, and he's watching right now, so I want everybody to wave. Okay? And then we all wave. Pope Francis's style, it's really interactive. He would pause and at crucial moments where he knows he's saying something that connects. Or he says, do you understand? And you, and he starts pointing to people in the crowd. And he does the look, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You need to say that again. But here, quoting a homily from Pope Benedict, and you realize that Pope Francis is a commentator on culture. He's commenting on culture. Aren't we all struggling with how do we reconcile differences? Is it even possible? And this idea that somehow that love builds us into a greater unity. Well, he goes on and it says, what kind of love? And this is when I just start to get chills as he's talking, right? What kind of love is this? It's the love that unites us, which doesn't smush us or squash us. It doesn't push us to the margin. It doesn't silence us or humiliate us or bully us. It is the love of God, a love in every day, discreet, respectful, free, and free. It heals us and lifts us up. It is the love of the Lord that knows more about pull-ups than put-downs, about returning rather than rejecting, about giving a chance rather than condemning, of the future rather than the past. It is the silent love of the hand extended in service and surrender. The love that doesn't show off. Not the show of love, but humble love that extends a hand to each one, no exception. It is the love that unites us today. No, I'm crying as he's saying that. Here we are, 1 million people, and we're here to listen to the Pope, and he's just talking to us about the love of every day, right? That the one hardest thing that we just struggle with, and we ask, what does love look like in my life? And this is my sort of free translation. It's so poetic what he's saying. It's very, very poetic. And you hear it, and it's something it's not a dogmatic teaching. It's really coming from his heart. And again, here I am. I'm crying. And then he turns to us and he says, "Do you believe in this kind of love? Do you believe? Is it worth it?" And dramatic pause for us there. So then he responds, "Well, in the name of Jesus, I say go and do the same. Don't be afraid to love, concrete love, tender love and service, love that consumes your whole life." This is my parish family in Panama, in a little parish called St. Joseph, San Jose. It's right next to the canal, literally right next to the canal. And it was Sunday, and they put on their traditional dress. Now, most of them won't wear this traditional dress during the week or the normal day, but everybody was wearing their traditional dress at Sunday. They call it the misa típica, the dress, the typical dress. And it was really, really cute. I never found out why she was dressed as the princess with the crown. I don't know, but she was in the front row during Mass, and we all got pictures with her afterwards. I forgot to ask. But I know all these little girls. Belen, if Belen was a boy, my dear friend in Panama was going to name her Joseph. Okay, so but Belen is precious, and I know these people, and in a way that I've seen their love and service, and I know the stories about their families, and I know how parents are struggling to take care of their kids, and then kids are struggling to take care of their parents as they get older, right? And I've had a taste of another group in another place that has deeply affected me, and then now they're receiving us. They hosted us for the first 4 days, and then after we left, they received 200 youth from Czechoslovakia afterwards. Okay, which I just thought was a trip. Was a trip. But here is the group that received us and that hosted us and was delighted to have us. There's something it was very, very special because we were encountering other people's lives in a special way. And then all of the youth that are here, some of these youth are my young people, but there was a group of like 15 and 16-year-olds, and they just met up with us everywhere that we went. They would just show up. It didn't matter where. It was great. It was wonderful. Pope continues to say, "Beloved youth, you are becoming artisans of the culture of encounter." One of his poetic phrases, culture of encounter, the church in the streets. Pope loves this idea as a very cultural idea, the importance of encountering other people. My brother went to Kenya for a month. He called it a mission trip, but he was really just hanging out. He was hanging out. But when he came back, he was depressed because he said in Kenya, when you come across a pass with a person, it's just this moment. It's like you recognize the person in front of you. You just sort of stop what you're doing, and there's an energy about it. And you come back to the U.S. and the feeling is different. I mean, we all, it's just different. The culture is different. And the farther north that you go, it's more and more different. I know a college missionary. She went up into New England, and she'd just be on a college campus. And in the morning, she would just stir everybody. She'd walk around with coffee and say good morning to people. And they're like, "Why are you talking? Why are you talking to us? Do you want something?" Here in Virginia, we're going to give you a hug and a kiss, okay? But I just love the artisans of the culture encounter. You're becoming this as we're in the streets and just meeting with random people. I was very much surprised at how positive and joyful everything was, and how we're constantly, everybody just wants to take a picture with everybody else, and we're chanting and we're singing and we're yelling out the country of the people that we see as much as they're yelling out USA, USA. It's incredible. So we practice visiting people's houses. This is one of the ladies who came with us on a trip, and we visited her parents. And her parents, they got a bus full of young people in the house and fed us, and it was wonderful. We went to a nursing home and had a dance party, and it was fantastic. And I mentioned at Mass, I mentioned our visit to the orphanage. And I loved it. I saw some like the tough guys in our group, and you see them just sort of melt and become show their soft side. This is the training of mission trips. Is this idea of what we call ministry of presence. When you're with people and you're doing what God wants you to do, this idea that you can just sort of sit there in the moment and you just hold it like it's a baby, and you just let it be, and let it be sacred and holy, and be present. So we practice the culture of encounter, the cultura de encuentro, and we practice being disciples. The Pope says, disciples not only one who arrives, but one who begins with a decision, one not afraid of the risk of the journey. So this, I love this. This is mother and daughter from Newport News, Michelle and Amanda. Which one's the mother and which one's the daughter? Right? One's 16, the other one is mom, and it was great. I mean, this is us walking through the streets. People are honking horns and waving and stopping their cars to talk to us or to take pictures with us, and we're waving back. And then you feel a little bit vulnerable at the same time. How are people going to respond? To us walking around. Well, it was just overwhelmingly positive, which is hard to describe. Sometimes there's a Christian convention, and people, protesters come out, right? And they come out with their signs, but not here. A decision to walk, come join us, or dance. We danced so after this mass here. They brought us up for a blessing, and then the piano player, he started playing, and we're clapping, and we start dancing. We've got a conga line going around the church. For 45 minutes, we are sweating. My watch is telling me, you've walked farther today than you ever have in your entire life. So Father Don, who's 80, he's our most senior of the group, afterwards he said to me, he says, that's the most fun I've ever had in a church in my whole life. You think, I don't know what to make of it. Most times we don't dance at the end of Mass, and we don't sort of dance around in the church, but it just makes you wonder what's the appropriate energy and joy for us to have in church and in God's presence. But we did do a lot of dancing. We also traveled by taxi. This is me here in the front, taking the picture. Now, Carmen, this is just for effect, okay? This is for effect, all right? We've got 8 people in this taxi here. Carmen is she was one of the funniest people on the trip. So anyway, she's making that sure.
I'm sorry, off the.
What's that?
The windshield.
Yes, and the rosary, and the taxi drivers are putting up with us. Or this. We had 30 people in a house, and we had 2 bathrooms. Okay, we had 2 showers and 2 toilets. So the men had a window of 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night. And the rest of the time, the bathrooms were for the women. Got a toilet clogged. And at the end of the night, there was a 24-hour grocery store as we were walking through the streets. And I said, hold on, everybody! And I ran in the store and I got a plunger for $1.29. All right. I came out, and then we walked. It took us 2 hours to get. It was 2 metros and 3 buses, and then about 2 miles of walking. It was a 2-hour trip to get home, and we're walking, and somebody had a boombox, so we have loud music playing, and so this is my microphone. So and then I was collecting change in it. I was dancing with the plunger, and on the very last bus ride, with the youth that is our said, hey, let's have a pull-up competition, you and me right now, because there's the bars in the bus. So we're doing pull-ups on the bus, and all the women are like, Father, please do not hurt yourself. You are not a teenager like him. So, and I think that I won the competition, but that's beside the point. And I left the plunger on the bus. For all of that, I left the plunger.
It's a field expedient third.
And somebody goes, maybe the bus driver, he needed a plunger that night. He's going to find so the plunger did not make it. But this was our journeying experience. And the next big thing with the Pope is the Via Crucis, right? Friday, the Stations of the Cross, the Way of the Cross. And we knew this element was coming, and he says to us, to walk with Jesus is a grace and a risk. He warns us, there's a cost, there's a suffering, right? If you want to follow me, you have to pick up your cross and follow me. So this is in D.C. This is the World Youth Day Cross that Pope John Paul II, that he blessed in 1985, and now it sort of circles the world. And it came to D.C. the summer beforehand, so we went up. These are some of the youth from Richmond. We went up, and I told all of them, I said, go and touch the cross. Touch it. So when we're in Panama, you're going to go and touch it again, right? And you make contact with it. But the idea of walking and a pilgrimage and a journey, even the Stations of the Cross, the Franciscans really popularized this. And it was, let's walk. And while we're walking, we're gonna meditate on the cross. And that walking took us into the most beautiful part of town, Casco Viejo. Very, very beautiful. And it took us through one of the, just as an example, but it took us through one of the poorest parts of town. In my mind, I thought, oh, this is fantastic. The positivity is just going to ring on the walls in here, just because these crowds of people are coming through. And more dancing. We stumbled across the stage, and they were doing Zumba. It's like, Zumba! there I am, right there in the middle. I've got a group. We did it for 40 minutes, and then I got a picture with the Zumba instructor afterwards. Well, part of our journey is, well, I don't know, it looks like dancing too. Why not, right? Why not? Isn't dancing is just a way of moving? Why does carrying a cross have to look... I was teaching altar servers how to serve one time, right? And the altar server, he goes and he picks up the book stand to put on the altar, and he picks it up and he goes... I said, okay, Brian, now I want you to do that again and tell yourself in your brain, the book stand is not heavy, the book stand is not heavy. And he walks over, and he picks it up, and he goes and he puts it on the altar like it was nothing. I said, now Brian, what's the difference? It was still heavy, wasn't it? He goes, yeah. I said, what's the difference? Is your thoughts. Your thoughts. Pope says too, and we give into apathy and immobility. Right? We struggle as we're going because we think that we have nothing to add, and we think that me moving doesn't really matter. One of the parks that had this sort of sea of little confessionals set up. You can go and go to confession in any language that you need, and it was really beautifully done. It was neat you come over the hill, and there was just a swarm of these on the hillside. Yeah, really beautiful. The Stations of the Cross up on the big stage and watching on the screens what they did. They had groups of youth from different nations and these wonderful, wonderful reflections. And then the Pope's message was to sit for a while and to say, the cross of Jesus goes on. It goes on. We still see it. In children who don't have a chance to be born or who are deprived of their infancy. And women who are mistreated. Oh, and then he uses every Spanish word you can imagine. Mistreated or exploited or abandoned or left alone or belittled. In the eyes and the faces of youth who've lost the capacity to dream. This is one of his themes that kept coming back and coming back. Youth who the world steals their opportunity to dream and to invent tomorrow. Youth as they fall into nets of people without scruples and their families who are in a spiral of death because of alcohol and drugs. The cross goes on in the loneliness, the resigned loneliness of elderly. And the people who are pushed out of their lands in the cry of Mother Earth, hurt by the craziness of our consumption, in a society that has forgotten how to cry and how to be moved in the face of other people's pain. And again, more in poetic words and deeply reflective. Every time, it just sounds like Pope Francis he's in touch with what the real struggle of life looks like, and he's trying to put that into words. So we had this solemn moment of the Stations of the Cross, and then the Pope's words, and then here my young people, they at some point they had gone off and they found, I was really, really happy. Hey, there you go. There you are at the foot of the cross. You found the cross in our midst, which is there's a whole spirituality of that. And at the end, the Pope says, don't be afraid to be like Mary and to be at the foot of the cross, or at the foot of the crosses, because they're all around us. And Jesus' cross, it continues today. Saturday we're off to the vigil. The big event on Saturday is the vigil gathering with the Pope, and so now You've got 1 million people who are going to come and gather, and then stay put all the way through the night until Mass at 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's going to, the gathering is going to turn into a big sort of campground somehow, and we were about 6 miles away, and so I put the question to the group. I said, now, we're here to walk, everybody, but I'm not going to force anyone. How many of you are up for walking? Oh, then they started talking amongst themselves, and everybody wanted to walk. So here's group 1 of our adventurers ready to go out. Here's Kevin Rydell as a seminarian for the diocese. And then group number 2, now Father Don, I'll show him to you again, he's hiding in the back here. And I said, Father Don, you do whatever you want to do. Do you want to walk to this, or we'll sneak you down in a car? He goes, no, I want to walk. I said, okay, well, we're going to walk with you. I wrote about that in my last bulletin. But he walked, so we formed our second group, and we stopped for lunch on the way, and we just took our sweet time. It took us 6 hours to walk those 6 miles, and it was a blast. And the whole time we were dancing through the streets, we've got our music playing, and we're waving, and just taking our sweet time. And this is Arsenia. The whole time she's carrying a cross and a statue of Mary, right? The whole time. And as a cultural thing, it's very not an unusual thing to do, to carry. And it's interesting, we have all these flags, these identifiers of things that we carry. And I have one of our Arsenia carrying a cross through public. Another way of visualizing. Are we carrying the cross with us? Do we carry our faith? Do we show that as we're in public? When I was in the Holy Land a number of years ago, I saw whole groups of people. They all had crosses, and everywhere they were going, they were touching the cross to everything. They had their crosses, and they were sort of making these mementos. That cross touched all of these different stations. But here's our Father Don Award. He's at Sacred Heart in Richmond. The entire group sort of surrounded him, and it was wonderful. Wanted to make sure that he was comfortable and had a great time. He's got a great sense of humor. He's a Jesuit, and he said that some kids came up to him and, "How old are you?" And he said, "I'm the oldest person here." And they're like, that's right. He might have been. Now he's up there. The Pope's 82 or 83, so not quite, but really, really cute, and such a trooper. We took great care of Father Don, and he presided for Mass for us one day, and was a real sweetheart. And we made sure that he had whatever he wanted to do. Father Don, we got you. This was the destination, Metro Park. So they said that the capacity, their estimated capacity was 700,000 people as they looked at it, and then afterwards it's all set up. But imagine that it was 1 million people, okay? Imagine, just for round numbers, 1 million people fit in this space, and this is one city. In Virginia, there are 38 cities, okay? In Virginia alone, we have 38 functioning cities with all of the infrastructure that we need. And if there were 38 cities in all of our states, that's 2,000 in the whole country. Right? Well, 100 of these, 1,000 of these becomes 1 billion people. 1,000. 2,000 in all of our cities across the United States, 2 billion people. You can add up the population of the world pretty quick. Okay? Visually, you can start to visualize it. We were a crowd of 1 million people. So with the people, this is what it was. This is. Somebody probably had a drone that got up there to get this shot, and just wild. You can see along the edge there was about a mile on both sides of porta potties and running water. So those are the facilities that were provided. And if you had to go to the bathroom, either you had a string or the breadcrumb trail, or or you took the radios, you took somebody with you. In the evening, then we had all sorts of evening activities. We had an address from the Pope in the evening, and then we had an hour of adoration, and there was a rosary and a lot of talking, and about 11 o'clock it wrapped up. But we have a Saturday message into the message of our final Mass. And on Saturday, the Pope wanted to talk about this idea of making things concrete. Let's talk about the tangible part of faith. And says that Jesus, the very clear image we have of him in Scripture, he was not afraid to embrace anybody, right? That there was no exceptions of the people that he went to and he embraced. And the Pope's reflection to say yes to God like Mary is to embrace life as it comes, with all of its fragility and its triviality, with its frustrations and its difficulties. And how many times do we just get afraid of embracing life? And one of the messages we hear to the Pope, and we put to God too, is does this person really deserve love? Is this person worthy of being embraced? And our Pope reminding us of Jesus himself, that yes. Now that doesn't mean everything is okay and there's no such thing as sin and that our lives don't affect one another. Sure they do. But our Lord embraced life as it came. Our Mother Mary does, and we are called to do the same. The true fall, which is capable of ruining our lives, is to stay down and not let anyone help. Right? He's speaking to youth at this point. Youth in which we know as teenagers, we know as young adults, times will come and you fall down and you feel like, oh, am I ever going to change? What's wrong with me? And speaking to the heart of that. And then talking about foundations, and he said to the grown-ups, he said, grown-ups, tell me this, what foundation to build on are we giving to the youth? What are we doing to invest in their foundation? And this is one of the sweetest pictures of the group. As we gathered, you can see all of the flags we were carrying. We were carrying lots of different flags. We had 8 different countries represented in our group. And so the thought on foundation, and the Pope said, without education, without work, without family, without community, young people, it is almost impossible to dream without those pillars. You've got to have those pillars. Work on those pillars and then dream into the future. And in the meantime, spaces. It's not enough to be connected to the net, young people. You've got to fight for your space. A place where, with your hands and your heart and your head, you feel connected to something greater than yourself, and you know that you are needed. Spaces where our young people are just doing what they're supposed to do. It was fun just to watch, and pride for me to sort of create those spaces. I think that's a parental pride. I can only imagine the parents are doing that all day long, and teachers do that too. And anybody who works with young people are creating those spaces where the life experiences shape them and form them. He gave a great quote. I like this. Bus trips are as much about singing and being crazy as they are about sleeping. The entire body, towards the end of the trip, completely knocked out. Oh no, I left it in Spanish. The progress of society, this is a quote, is the progress of society only to come to own the latest car or to acquire the latest technology from the market? Is there nothing else worth living than this? This is a quote from St. Albert Hurtado from 1946. Young people, technology, okay? Technology is there, but the being connected with technology, it doesn't replace this. You were created for so much more. And I've heard comments from young people that they've come back and it's like, my phone is, it feels weird, it feels different to me because I knew people. We affected, we danced, we laughed, we walked everywhere, and that right? It's good old-fashioned life. I mean, right? It is, but at the same time, we have to remember how to have that experience. So the Pope finishes his message on Saturday. He preps us for adoration. This was the image of adoration, which was way far away. This big image of Jesus. The artwork was so beautiful. There's a story behind every piece of art and all of the artists that they brought together to work on these things. And somebody was just telling me there's a story behind this as well. They formed this this statue, an image of Mary, and in her hands is sort of a monstrance to hold the Eucharist. And it's this big picture of Jesus, right? Jesus embracing. Well, hold that thought there. So while that's going on, and here's the scene at night, and some of my guys on their knees praying. These were the tough guys at the beginning of the trip. And at one point, they had asked if they could go down to IHOP and have dinner. I'm like, all right, don't stay out too late. Well, I'm wiped out, and Erwin, his mattress is right next to mine. I'm like, I'm too tired. I'm going to sleep. Well, I fell asleep. I woke up in the morning, and he's not there. And I'm at 6 a.m. My heart starts beating, and I'm like, do I call the police? What do I do now? Oh my goodness. I got my rosary. I went outside. I started praying, and then 2 minutes later, these two guys come running around the corner. My Father, we were out for a run, and we brought water back just so everyone would have water. It's awesome.
A little thing.
It was awesome. It was great. So, the theme of the whole experience was, here I am, Lord. Behold, the servant of the Lord. Behold, I am the servant of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word. Right? That's the theme that we're singing. And the reflections, it's always we're balancing between the Christian life and the example of Mary. Just some of the things that the Pope said. Most influential woman in history, not because she wanted to be, not because she was trying to be, just because she was following. She chose to say yes, right? She chose God's plan, and she became that. She held Jesus with her eyes, with her heart. She was fiercely resistant. She was stubbornly patient and creative. Just had all these great descriptions. And then he says, and she is the great custodian of hope. But in Spanish, custodia means a guardian or a custodian, but it's the word for monstrance. Okay, so a little of this play on words that Mary she is showing. Monstrance from mostrare in Latin, to show. That we have this thing, let's just sit and let's just show Jesus as he is there in every one of our masses. And Mary, just like we associate Mary with the Ark of the Covenant, or when I was in seminary, all of the statues of Mary, they are called the sedes sapientiae, the seat of wisdom. Because the seat, Mary's lap, was the place that Jesus, as a child, sat. So all of the titles of Mary, classic titles that always point back to Jesus in some way, and that connection that she had with him. This is the Pope. It gives you a little idea of how big this thing is. This thing is huge. The Pope blessing us at the end of Adoration. And some of his messages, again, Saturday and Sunday, and through the week, are about to the youth. Youth, you are artisans of the cultural encounter. Work towards a dream together. Be builders of bridges. Fight for your space today. And then you need to hear this. Have you heard this refrain that the youth are not the future of the church, they're the present of the church, right? They are the church, the present of the church. And the Pope's hearing that too, and he said, no, you are not the future of the church, you are God's now. The ahora of God, right? Right now, you're God's right now. And it's true, right? It's a little bit tiring sometimes. It's a lot of energy and emotion in a moment, and you think, okay, well, we need that foundation. We still need to think about the future, but aren't these the two pieces, right? Of the older and wiser ones are always looking forward. What's the future of the family? What does the future hold? And the young ones and little children are saying, yeah, but right now is the best moment that ever existed because I found a bug. So here is it's just wild. We came pretty prepared. We had our little sort of tent city where we was just open, sleeping, and other people are just laying on the ground or like a little piece of cardboard and just sleeping everywhere. And I didn't see an ugly thing anywhere. At one point, when it took us 6 hours to get there, and we got there, there were these huge crowds, and we thought, are we going to make this, or are we just going to collapse, But we did it, we got there, and everybody else got there. It was awesome, and then this hush fell over the crowd for the rest. Actually, I put in earplugs. That was the hush. I put in earplugs, so it was quiet. Until 5:48 in the morning, Good morning, everyone! It's time to dance!
Zumba.
So, yes, it was. They brought the Zumba instructors on stage, right? But the video guys are all asleep. So there's nothing on the screens, and the stage is half a mile away. You can't see the stage. So it's like, and now left, and up, and then to the other side. No, the other side. No, the other. And I'm awake. I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, I can't see anything. I'm just hearing instructions, you know. Maybe that's like the spiritual life. So, you know, it's like, God, are you trying to give me instructions? I can't see anything. Please help me. So here's the morning experience, and the sun coming up, and 8 o'clock sharp we started. We had mass with the Pope, and everybody, somehow they got communion out to everybody, and then you realize, and then it was time to go, and I realized one more thing, that it was just, everything just sort of built up to the final mass, and then that was it. This is us with this little group, very small group of young people way out in the countryside, no church, no chapel. They meet in this outdoor gymnasium for mass. And we had mass with them. We had mass at St. Joseph with the community. We had mass. We had our daily mass in the house that we were staying. We showed up to this sort of tourist place in this special church that we went to, and all of a sudden the group of Polish people showed up at the exact same time, and they were going to have mass. And so it's like, oh, perfect! We sat down and had mass, and we just watched them. We had no idea what they said, but we knew everything that was going on. Absolutely everything. And it was like, that was a great homily. I don't know what he said, but that was great. It was great. And I could see all my young people like, hey, we can do that too. They did all the readings, the intercessions, they led all the music, and we can do that too, huh? It's wonderful. But you know, it's our same mass, and Jesus is present in the same way. I know another priest who said he went to World Youth. The last World Youth that he went to, he was hearing a confession, and somebody said to him, "It's like, oh, this is so wonderful. We have confession over here." And he thought, "Wow, I'm on the other side of the world doing the exact same thing that I do at my church at home." I think I'm just going to stay in my church at home for now. I don't know that I need to come to Australia for this, but isn't that funny? I think that's the experience, and I like to say that to encourage parents that all the lessons you teach your kids, one day they're going to go and somebody else is going to say the same thing they've heard their whole life, and then they'll come back like, I learned this amazing thing from somebody else today. It's like, oh, did you really? Oh, really? But hey, that's how life works. We are planting seeds that other people water. Although this was they just opened the gates, they had highways closed down, and there was this throng of people on the highway just walking, and I was like, where are we going? You know? Wow! It just looked incredible. And again, with all of the flags. Young ones, go back, transmit what you have lived so that others can vibrate with that same energy and that concrete vision that you have. And just like Mary, keep saying yes to the dream that God has planted in your hearts. And the logo one more time. And the end of my presentation.